This is To The Bar. Strength in every story. And now for today's show.
Welcome to The Bar, your podcast for all things weightlifting. Proudly sponsored by Luge Housing UK. We believe there are strength in every story. We're your hosts. I'm Jess Roebuck-Slaney.
And I'm Holt.
And we're here today to discuss the recent competition that we've just been to, hosted by British Weightlifting, which was the English Championships of 2025.
Yeah. Also rounds up this series of our podcast.
Series 2, done.
Yeah.
Check out good. Now, if you fancy it. Done.
Yeah. Review done.
Review done. But yes, it is the English Championships, not the English Open, but the English Championships.
Indeed.
Bit of a different review this time, I suppose, because we have sort of gone back to our roots for the podcast and spent the weekend, or at least the weekend with British Weightlifting, purely TOing, so purely as technical officials, and not sort of balancing the two between media and technical official for British Weightlifting. At least we'll come on to sort of the SBD Powerlifting and ATHX and everything, but from a weightlifting perspective, we were there as technical officials.
Yeah, it was quite nice to actually sort of get back to that. Obviously missed a bit of the media. You know, it's always nice to do that, but it was great to be able to sort of sit through all the sessions. And I think, you know, well, obviously sort of big congratulations to Claire Deacon, who's taken over Maggie Lars' amazing job and has sort of, you know, big shoes to fill, and has filled them quite well.
Yeah.
So congratulations to her. But as well, it gave us a great opportunity to, because, you know, normally with the sort of the lack of TOs, we end up doing back-to-back sessions. But it was really nice that I was on, off all the way through, so I had quite a lot of breaks. You did as well, a couple of breaks as well?
I had when I first got the rotor, I did look at it and think, this is a weird rotor, but it worked well.
Yeah.
Normally I end up sort of sat on the Marshall station, and I did do a lot of Marshall station, thank you, Claire.
Yes, likewise.
But then I did do some weigh-ins, and I did some other stuff. I did some of the para stuff, which we can come on to, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the rotor, it did look a bit daunting at first, especially because I probably... I love the Marshall station, but I hate refereeing, as most people know. And so the idea of this time us going just as technical officials wasn't as... Well, I don't want to say wasn't as interesting to me, because it was. I love the weightlifting, I love the community, and that's what I'm there for. But there was a bit of anxiety for me around whether or not I was going to enjoy it as much under sort of... feeling that little bit of restriction of not being able to interact with people the way we normally do. Because I think part of what this podcast, or part of what we've tried to create, is that community. And that community, for me, is being able to talk to people, or stop and share photos, or take photos. And a lot of... I didn't want to lose that. I was worried that we weren't going to get as much of that this time, but I think the way Claire did the rota meant that I did still get time to talk to people. I did still get time to feel like I was part of the community, and not just sort of like a dog's body on a desk. Not that any of the coaches making me feel that way anymore. You know, it's not like it was 3 or 4 years ago, when it was a very us versus them culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it was a good weekend.
Yeah, likewise. I think, obviously missed the walkthroughs and things like that. And I think, you know, certainly from BWR's standpoint, you know, what would it be in the British, where Alicia was doing, like she did the beep beep behind the scenes. They only did a very short one.
Beep,
I think it was probably because they had a bit of a sort of a reduced staff or sort of footprint of staff there. And so maybe they just didn't get the time to do that sort of thing. So it felt like there was something missing from the media side. You know, there wasn't the normal sort of, I say barrage, but plethora of people posting and things like that, posts of interviews or pictures and behind the scenes sort of
it's
stuff.
It's hard, isn't it, to talk about it without sounding like you're sort of egotistical or tooting your own horn or whatever. But I mean, I love doing the behind the scenes, and they're always well received. It's always, I mean, you put your Joker hat on and we have a bit of a laugh and get there early. And I think for people who don't get the opportunity to travel to Birmingham, it gives them a little bit of an insight about what a competition looks like. And it's no reflection on Alyssa at all, because she had she didn't stop. She was part of the TO team, so her not being able to do the beep beep golf cart things was also a loss, because she was used elsewhere. But I did feel a big gap in terms of the marketing, and I sort of linked that back to a lot of our podcasts have been about, when we've talked about weightlifting, we've talked about how do we get kids in, how do we get new people in, how do we celebrate the sport. And I think I'm sort of left wondering if we don't even celebrate the tier ones with media attention, how are we celebrating the sport as a whole with media attention? You know, how are we making weightlifting a more known about? I mean, I only found out about weightlifting because I saw you doing a snatch in a commercial gym. If you hadn't been in that gym at that time, I wouldn't have had a clue. So how are we as a collective thinking about that? And that this competition for me really showed that it's the community that does the marketing and not necessarily BWL. And as the community have stepped back, there was a gap. And that's not to say that White Lights didn't put out some great photos, and Lilla didn't put out some great photos, and some coaches didn't come up with some amazing videos of their own athletes, and people in the audience with their iPhone footage. You know, people have really put stuff out there, but there has been a bit of a. It did feel like something was missing for me. Yeah.
I'll try not to get too moany, but I do think there's a disconnect where there once was, a strong link between clubs and BWL. I think there's a disconnect at the moment. I think you only have to look at the Club Cup and how that was championed by BWL, and then, for want of a better word, dropped. And left to the clubs to deal with that, and they're taking it on. And fair play to Craig Spicer and the likes of Shemek,
Legion and all those clubs,
who are taking that on and really running with it. But again, you look at I think you'd struggle to find or have known that there was a Tier 1 English Championships compared to the amount of attention that a Tier 3 gets these days, because of the footage that the likes of from the platform,
Phil and Nick,
and to a certain extent with White Lights when they turn up to some of the lesser Tier 3s, but they're obviously
I'll challenge that.
Okay.
I don't want to completely slag White Lights off, but I do take issue with them putting a picture of a kid from Books on the front of the album for the Masters Open at Guildford. I'm not. I mean, people know my opinion when I correct them when they call it the British Open instead of the British Championships. It's not. I have no issue with them as a business, but I think if you're going to come in as a business and be a partner, then you need to be a partner, and that means knowing what you're taking a photo of, or using the right images to represent the right people. I think using a 17-year-old on the front of an album that's entitled Masters Open Championships is ridiculous and inappropriate.
Yep.
So I'm not sure White Lights do turn up to any of the Tier 3s, but I do think the grip and rip footage, the Phil, I've seen a couple of videos, and obviously I saw him, so he's from the platform you guys might know him as. I saw him doing quite a few interviews, so I imagine they're going to come out as he's got time to sort of edit them. But normally you get that three-pronged attack, where if we put one reel out, Phil puts one out, Nick somehow manages to put 6 out in an hour because he's got some kind of magic skill. It feels much more current online, and that might be too much for some weightlifters. I know sometimes I end up going off Instagram when things get a little bit,
Flooded
repetitive or flooded. But at the minute, my Instagram is flooded with SBD powerlifting, and it's flooded for a good reason, because there were some records broken, there was some amazing lifting done at that section of the event. So I don't know, I think there's a missed opportunity there, and it's not said with bad blood in the sense of, oh, we should have got a contract, or Nick should have got a contract, or Phil should have got a contract. It's said in the sense of there's a community, and there's something missing between BWL and the community at the minute. I'm not sure what that is. And it doesn't just come down to photos. It's, like you say, the comps, it's club opinions, it's, there's priorities, obviously, when you think about the Commonwealths and performance athletes. But you only get your performance athletes that are going to get to the Commonwealths from your clubs.
Yeah, and the new blood. And I fail to see at the moment where we're reaching out to. Well, I mean, our last podcast, one before this, one before the Rogues was with Mem and Sylv from Mem's Weightlifting, and they're dying to get into schools to sort of bring in that new talent, and they need that help.
They need the support,
and that's one of many clubs that are trying to do that. So it's and then of course my moan about criticism is about the TOs and how we get more TOs into the sport. We started off this podcast from a sheet, a how-to sheet, help sheet, crib sheet, whatever you want to call it.
I always call it my cheat sheet.
My cheat sheet to take to comp for TOs, and then we started off doing some videos on what to spot, whether it be a press out or a
how
bend
the marshal's
extend,
desk worked,
the marshal's desk and things like that. And although we made do with the TOs the weekend, I still think there's a real missed opportunity in a TO pathway. I still think asking people to pay for the course and the licenses is crazy. When we're struggling to get people in, you've got to look at that entry point, and if it's costing people and it's a deterrent, then review it. And then of course the pathway to IWF level is, for me, again, crazy. The amount of level 2 or level 3 BWL TOs who commit weekly or monthly to competitions, tier 3 competitions, and referee non-stop thousands of lifts throughout the year. And then you get IWF refs who do 3 competitions a year or something because they're the prestigious.
They do the jewels in the crown one. Yeah, they turn up for the English and they turn up for the British. They may occasionally turn up for something like age groups. But I mean, that goes back to my argument, which I know Sport 80 can't do, but there should be a way for me to log how many TO hours. Because if I looked at how many TO hours I've done this year, it's hundreds. I turn up to every tier 3 comp that I can. Oftentimes there are 3 or 4 on the same date that you're getting messages about TOing, and I never say no unless I absolutely can't. I've changed personal plans to 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 support clubs. So there's got to be some way that it's not like I want some round of applause or anything, because I'm not the only person that does that. There's a whole WhatsApp group full of people that do that. And we don't ask the clubs to. It's not that we're saying it because we want the club's recognition either. It's some kind of acknowledgement that actually I might be BWL level 3, but I've probably TO'd more than some of the IWF refs have done in the last couple of years. And the arguments, I mean, the coaches and the athletes are way too preoccupied with what they're doing to really know what's going on behind the scenes. But sometimes some of the debates you get into around the rules and the applications of the rules, I still am not quite sure how at a tier 1 level we're debating certain rules and how they are or aren't applied. I don't know. I think something's digressed somewhere along the line. I'm not quite sure what, but something has. yeah, it's not for lack of trying either, because it isn't like we haven't sat with Claire and Claire hasn't sat with us with Maggie and talked about TO development. So I know that there are people in BWL that are really trying to support TO development, and we've talked about doing online training for the Marshall Station, because it's not difficult in the slightest, but when you sit down in front of it, it can be quite intimidating. So people get scared of it, and so I totally understand that. I was that person at one point, but now you'd be lucky to prize me off of it half the time. I'm trying to get people to swap with me. So yeah, it's not that I think there's any one person to blame. I think there's just something as a collective we need to be thinking about, and I really do think we miss an opportunity by not doing a debrief.
Yeah.
After these comps, we do these pre things where all the TOs come together and you find out where you can park and that sort of stuff. But I really think a debrief would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because there's things I would say in a debrief that I wouldn't say on the podcast, because it would be quite clear who I would be talking about, or instances that I would be talking about, and that's not fair to however many people listen to this, for that one person to know that I'm talking about them. But I would say it in a small group space where it's safe, and it's not criticism, it's just a reflection of, this was my understanding of the rule, and this is how it was applied, and can we query that?
Yep.
So yeah, for me, a debrief after comps like that is a real easy win.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to do that, and it's when I've sat with refs, when I've been refereeing and sat with refs either side of me, and I've picked up something and they haven't, or two of us have and one of them hasn't, and I've not spotted something and two other people have. It's that ability to you're not supposed to turn around to your refs in the middle of a tier 1 comp and say, sorry, what did you spot, and then have a debate about it. We're not allowed to do that. And rightfully so, you don't want to stop competition. But post-competition, to be able to review that, I'd love it, just have a sheet or something, just a mark, or someone else behind you, just sort of noting down who scored what's, and then be able to go back and actually sort of say, right, this is the lift, review it, this is what I spotted, this is the reason why, and then debate it, and then be like, right, okay, I missed that, and now I've learnt that rule, or no, I still think this is what I saw.
Yeah.
And you stick
even
with
if
your
you
guns.
imagine that as being like a far off sort of stretch goal, though, this idea that we'd have every well, I mean, we do have every lift recorded from a particular angle because we live stream it, but if we say that's a stretch goal, I would go as far as a debrief just being okay, so there's always something.
Yeah.
So there's always one rule that seems to be more of a stickler than others. If you think about the British, it was oscillation. If you think about the Welsh, it was dropping above the shoulders. If we think about books, it was the feet not in line.
Yeah.
There's always one rule that for some reason becomes the popular rule that almost every lifter is not abiding by.
I would imagine there's plenty of people out there that don't even know that if you come out of the clean and do not stand with your legs stretched and fully locked out, it's a no lift. If you go into your jerk with bent legs, it's a no lift. You've got to complete your lifts. And there's little nuances.
But that's the athletes not understanding it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that until you questioned Ed, and I was like, well, I'd never really thought about it, because what benefit do you have to not straighten your legs when you come out of the clean, because you have to stand still. So why wouldn't you anyway? This doesn't go off on a tangent. The point being, the debrief for me isn't necessarily like a deep dive into why did you make that decision, because you made that decision. It doesn't matter to me if me and you were reffing and somebody else was reffing and I made a different decision to you, if afterwards you showed me why, the most I can do from that is go, I was wrong. I can't change the outcome for the lifter. I can be a little bit more mindful of it in future. But for me, it's more about, okay, so what did we experience the most of? And so for me this time around, I would feed back things like numerous coaches came over to me from other platforms to ask questions about the Marshall Station and to ask about the change sheets. And when I would say, yeah, but that's what we're here for, you ask the questions what we're here for, they would say, yeah, not everybody feels that way. So there's something about the way that some of us are coming across that makes us not feel approachable or perhaps do you see what I'm saying? So what's the learning for us as TOs, and how we're applying ourselves equally? So no one TO is different to the other, because we shouldn't be. We should all be the same in the sense of equity and fairness, which again comes back to my whole, we shouldn't be coaching in our uniforms. We shouldn't, you know, if I leave the back room, I put a t-shirt on over my BWL uniform, because I'm not volunteering in that moment. Whatever I'm off doing and my hours break, if I'm not in the TO restroom, I've got a change of t-shirt, because I'm not representing BWL within that hour. So yeah, but some of that does lie with BWL, because in the middle of one of the comps, and the lifter and the lifter's dad will know which one it was, a rule had been changed in the TCRRs that I didn't know had been officially changed in the TCRRs, and as far as I'm aware, I did look, hadn't been publicised unless you went typing, searching through the resource packs on BWL, that it had been updated, that this particular rule had been updated. So there is something about, if rules are going to get changed, how we're communicating that to the referees, so that we're not all sitting there. Yeah. You know, to me it was quite amusing, because I just sat there with my red paddle up for 6 minutes. But to the athlete and the athlete's dad, I can't imagine that was. And I think they understand, because I spoke to them afterwards, that my red paddle was actually to BWL to say, this is ridiculous. You can't, you know, it impacts the other athletes, and you haven't told us that this is a change prior to me sitting in this chair. And there's a certain onus on me in terms of rereading the TCRRs before each competition, perhaps. But it's a laborious document, and if you're going to update it, much like any other standard operation policy, usually you highlight it.
You send out the updates, you know, what's changed and what's,
Yeah. So other than all of that moaning...
Anyway, yes, back to the lifting.
Yeah, can you tell there's a little bit of disenchantment at the moment? I'm sorry, guys. The athletes and coaches, I love. Yeah. And I'm really, really glad we got a lot of time. Got to see lots of coaches and athletes that I haven't had time with for a while, because obviously they live up north, or we only really see each other when we come together for big comps, and we didn't do the age groups, and so we'd missed some of them. That side of it, the community side of it, it was an amazing weekend. I was really, really happy to be there and to see a lot of the lifters, and a lot of the things that I was really proud of was being able to say, when lifters came off and they were unhappy, I've said this to you, you're smiling, but lifters were coming off unhappy because they'd missed a lift, or they'd just made it but they weren't happy with their technique. And there was one that I was sort of saying, you know, the first time I met you was 2 years ago, and you threw 67 kilos at me as I was centre ref, and that was your last attempt at a clean and jerk, and that particular person had tried 117 that day. Like, 2 years. That's incredible to watch that journey. Yeah. And to watch it online, and I don't know necessarily that the athletes know quite how invested we are in their journey. Yeah, absolutely. And how much, this sounds really stalkery, but how much interest I personally do take in their training. I love it when they post their training videos. I love that when they put their back squats on their stories and you can see them. I like when Eliza puts her pull-ups. I was just about to mention that. I absolutely love that. I love that, because it means I'm excited to see her. I'm always excited to see her on a platform, but I'm excited to see her on the platform next, because you see all that work going in. And it's so, aside from the complainy bits, which is actually more, it wasn't actually about this competition. I think it's just been brewing with BWL for a little while. The competition itself was really good. And I loved Claire's whiteboard with the break, even if every single fucking coach still asks me, is it 10 or 5 minutes between snatch and clean and jerk? I can't believe this didn't see it. Is a whiteboard that says, also, the rule is very clear, 6 or less, and it's 10 minutes. Yeah. Any more than that, and it's 5. Just learn it, guys, please. But there's a whiteboard. I liked Claire's little additions. Yeah. So is it 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Fucking hell. The only time I think it's okay for them to ask me is when it starts out as a 7 and somebody bombs.
Yeah.
And then I can quite happily answer that it's still 5 minutes because we started out. I know it's not fair, but we started out with over the 6 and therefore it has to stay as the 5. But yeah, other than that, oh shit, doing myself. Just read the whiteboard.
Must have to also say thank you very much to Mem, who came over and saw me and gave me a big, he always does, big bear hug, and cracked my back so hard that I was able to move for the rest of the weekend because I had a really bad stiff neck from driving. And I don't know what he does, but he should be a chiropractor as well as a coach, so thank you, Mem. But yeah, and I think it's funny because you asked me after the 110s how I think I was a bit saturated by that point, how it was.
Pissed off to me.
Yeah. But when I reflect, it was a couple of hours later, and I was like, that was really good actually. And the likes of we've seen Josh. We talk about people who we've seen develop over the years. Josh Hurton from North Tyneside, with Steve, of course, Sharp, the coach. They've developed this partnership, not only as lifter coach, but coach and coach, because Josh is coaching in the back room as well now, and it's great to see him doing that. But he's had an amazing year coming back. Dropped a lot of weight as well, but kept the strength. He's increased the strength, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's because he doesn't think of it as a comeback.
No,
I think that's one of the things. Oh,
good mindset.
Cat. Apologies for cat interruption. Oh, that's going to sound great. Yeah, because he didn't see it as a comeback. He saw it as an opportunity to train in other areas.
Yeah.
I think that mindset and the ability to still keep going into the gym every day. I mean, I was watching him sitting on a box pressing ridiculous amounts and thinking, well, he's not going to worry about his jerk, is he? You're right. It's, for me, the only thing that keeps me going back is the athletes.
Yeah.
It is the athletes and it's the coaches and it's the relationships we've got with the athletes and the coaches.
Yeah.
And the other TOs, Caroline Charles, when she came over and obviously, sadly, in between the podcasts that we've had, David Mannion passed away, and Aaron and I had been to his funeral with Mem and Sov, and Caroline had come over and sort of said that she was really happy to see us there, and how she was worried that the weightlifting community wouldn't turn out for him, and actually we did. There was a fair few. I say a fair for the size of the funeral. There was a fair few people for him there, and I think that shows to me that the community is more than just the bar, or it is more than just that one competition or that one battle, this one podcast where I'm going to moan. If you go back over all of the podcasts where I've done nothing but shout about the positive things, you're allowed a blip where you think, do you know what, this is not how I would do things. And even with that blip of this is not how I would do things, the community is still there for each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when the coaches and the athletes are pissed off. I mean, I had a session that was an absolute nightmare. It right at the beginning, and it was again
the Saturday.
The Saturday again, it was no particular person's fault. We had just had tech issues, and it was it was worse because my group was small, and so what I was feeling was the pressure for the athletes. They've trained all year to qualify, to get into that group, and then to sit for 14 minutes in total before they could do a lift. For me, I was starting to feel sorry for them. I was starting to feel responsible.
Yeah.
Which shows, if I didn't care, if I was just there because I wanted to give red lights or because I wanted a power trip, I wouldn't really have cared about that sort of thing. And I don't think I saw anybody who didn't care when they were having technical issues, and it wasn't because they were stressed for themselves, it's because they were worried about the competitions flowing smoothly and the representation that had on BWL, or how it reflected on Claire's first comp, and I think that was really lovely, the way people came together.
Yeah, Yeah, and I must say thank you very much to Richie, Richie Dan, who he got caught up in that tech issue and was timed out, and I still haunts me that because
he should have been given that lift back.
Yeah, my clock hadn't started, and I was telling him, no, you're all right. And then the buzzer went. I was like, what the fuck's just happened?
He should have been given that back. But I feel the same about Libby. Yeah. So in my group, Libby, she sat down 2 minutes before her lift was due, and then for 12.5 minutes we couldn't get anything working.
Yeah.
And I was getting really worked up and saying, it's 3 lifters. I can do this on paper. Let's do it on paper. And she went out. And she did miss, and in my head I was thinking the rules do say that it's down to the governing body to decide if you give that additional lift, if there's an error on the part of the field of play, like the competition. Obviously that's not what happened, but again, I'll give all of the coaches there. So we had Stu Cruikshanks, his daughter was caught up in that. We had Debbie Gamble. Keith Morgan came over, and they were all so lovely about it, in the sense of saying, it's not your fault, and they could see that the reason I was getting like not agitated, but a little bit like we can do this without the computer. There's 3, was because I cared, and it made me feel better in a selfish way that they could see that it was because I cared, because that meant that the reason we'd started this podcast has worked.
Yeah.
Because when we started the podcast, we started it because I TO'd one competition and said I'd never do it again because the coaches were awful. Not those coaches, but the coaches at that competition at that time were horrible to me. And I said to you, I didn't ever want to do that again, and that's not what it's like anymore at all.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to one of our biggest things, and that is that we're all there to support that person on the platform.
Yeah.
No matter whether it's a coach, a TO, a speaker, or whoever it is, we're not there to make things difficult. We're there to help that one person. They're the ones that should be championed, and that's what we're there for.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think overall it went well. I mean, it was what I like. I hesitate to say it, but I liked it. The CrossFit was in another room, because as much as I bang on about the fact that having everybody there together means there was a bigger audience, there was an all right audience for all of our stuff, but it wasn't deafening.
Yeah.
I only put my loops in once, and that was because the one session I refed, I was sat this close to the speaker that Eddie was booming through. And then the green speaker for the green platform was just the other side of it, facing the other way. And so I had Faithless Insomnia and Christmas Carols at the same time. And then Eddie announcing the female lifters. And I just, when you're like, I can't concentrate.
Sounds like
I can't.
White noise torture.
Loops went straight in. Heather was like taking the piss out of me for having to put them in. She was saying, I'm older than you are. Like, tough. Well, you don't need them then, do you? Like, but yeah, I kept going to who are they? The media company that do all of that. Whoever they are.
Know that because they're really good.
They are really good.
They're great.
I had a really good laugh with the guy behind it. I kept saying to him, will you turn this fucking thing down? And he was like, I'm going to turn it off when we're finished.
When we're finished, yeah. Tempt you.
But it was just a nice, it was a nice banter. But
actually, we need to find out who they are. We'll note out who they are and put it in the in the
they're
description
so
down, because
good.
when they turn up and they round up everyone for the intros, and they're so detailed with what they do. So they'll come and find out who's dropped out, so they don't call
pronunciations
out
of the name. Yeah, there's one woman.
Yeah.
She's got short blonde hair. She's there every time, really short blonde hair, and I say to her every time, it's lovely to see you again. And she comes to me and checks the pronunciation of every name, and I really appreciate that, because it shows like a level
detail,
above of wanting to make sure you get things right. Yeah. So they're fantastic, and they're funny. I just find them funny with their little headsets, and I think they're great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did mainly marshalling, one session of reffing, the weigh-ins, and then before we go on to when we did sneak away with the camera, I got to do the para stuff for the first time, which was
You were quite nervous about that.
I messaged Claire ahead of time and was like, "Are you on crack?" No, I messaged her and said, "You might have made a mistake here because I ain't never done anything." She just said, "What? I don't know what a kit check is. Like, you've got me down for kit check. What am I checking? That they've got a bench? Like, what? Yeah. What?" And she's. I didn't even think that. I was literally so overwhelmed with the idea that I was on it for the marshal. I was like, all I know about the powerlifting is that they go in a round robin and they have longer time. That can't be on owls. So what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I had a bit of a meltdown. A bit like the first time I was ever going to do. The first ever reffing, and I don't think you meant to, but you checked the rotor and messaged me and said, "You're on timekeeper, that's the hardest job." And then you went out to the theatre or somewhere and just left me, and I nearly didn't go because I was like, I can't. I didn't know what timekeeper was. I didn't understand the whole 2 minutes, 1 minute thing. It was literally I'd done the qualification the week before, the DBS had come through, and it just so happened that they were in need for the age groups, and they put me on timekeeper, and the anxiety of it, of not knowing how to do something, but knowing these people had worked so hard to be there, was enough to send me home, like to make me not want to fuck it up for them, basically. And that's what I felt about the paras, because they have to work twice as hard, mainly because they don't get the attention, I would say, like the sport, not BWL, because the BWL really does try and highlight and really champion their competitions, but noticeably the crowds are smaller, and it is one of those things, much like the adaptives, where we have to get used to us all being one, and it stopped being this separation, which was what made me think, okay, I need to not have a meltdown that I don't know what I'm doing and just learn. And so the kit check, I went to Louise Sugden because I knew her from Instagram, and I knew that she might know what I was supposed to be doing. But also Tara. So I went to 3 different people and I asked them all the same question. So Claire showed me, Tara showed me, and Louise Sugden showed me, because I thought then I can just pool the knowledge. And it's essentially exactly as it sounds. It's a kit check, but it's not a kit check as in like the bench and plates. It's their own kit. So is their weightlifting suit, or the suit that they're using on the bench, does it meet regulation standards? Do they have any plasters or anything on their arms, hands or elbows they're not allowed them? Are they wearing wrist wraps? If they are wearing wrist wraps, are they the right length? Do they need any adaptations to music and lights? Do they have their own coach as a spotter? And so from my understanding, the spotter is the person who says up. So once it's rested on their chest, the difference between the ones who used the coach as the spotter in inverted commas, as in he wasn't actually there to catch the bar, he was the one that said, right now, press. Yeah, well, that was the only way I could distinguish it, because you had Paul Garvey who said start, and on sometimes he would say up, but sometimes he wouldn't. And for the para GB, so like the Olympians, the coach, I forget his name, but the coach who goes with them, he was the one that was giving the up. Right. So anyway, that's what I ticked for. And then it said special circumstances at the end, and I just put their bench height, because obviously each one doorbell, each one has a different bench height. So I just noted the bench height there for them. And then they only have an hour. I mean, it must work out the same between the weigh-in and the kit check. Yeah, and it just felt different because I went round. There's more to check. You don't just like lob somebody on some scales and then note down their openers. There's more. There was at least sort of 10 or 12 things that I was checking off. But they were all so lovely. I mean, when I look at the people that I did the kit check for, and then I compare that to the list of people that went to the Olympics, and I'm like, oh God. I went round all these people and said,
Excuse me.
I've never done this before. Just tell me if I fuck something up, like if I miss something, if there's something that I do that you would not expect me to do, if there's something I don't do that you would expect me to do. You know, I tried to be honest because I think that's a better... It's a better way of being, really. But yeah, and then you sat with me for a little bit of the marshalling of it, which was so simple. I'm not even going to pretend like once I'd sat in front of it I was bothered, because I wasn't. It was super easy. But the benching was incredible.
I was going to say, it's more amazing just to actually sort of sit there and be able to watch that. Really.
Yeah, because I'm always cracking my neck to watch it from the marshal station when they're warming up.
Yeah.
So to actually be able to just sit and watch them bench was a madness. Yeah, it really was.
It wasn't but a few days before that we'd been in the gym doing some bench, which I hate it, and so we never very rarely do.
Well, you'd done 2 reps at 80 and I'd done 2 reps at 65, and my chest still hurt on that day. And that honestly was what I was sat looking at them and thinking, my tit hurts. And that's probably, they didn't even warm up on the weight that I did 2 reps at.
Yeah, they're incredible, aren't they?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think
amazing.
I find it really difficult because when we've spoken to Abby or anybody from Woodaptive or an adaptive athlete, and Abby gave this great quote where she'd said something like, "We're not more or less impressive," and I completely agree, and also find it very difficult because when I was watching the para athletes bench, I was thinking, this is incredibly impressive. And it wasn't because they were short stature. It wasn't because they were in a wheelchair. It wasn't because they were deaf. It was because I was thinking, I leg drive. I have to set up in a particular way. I use all of these other muscle groups to support my bench. If you took all of those away from me, my bench would probably be the bar. So it was less, and it's kind of like it goes back to the adaptive when we tried to do the seated snatch when we snatched on the box to emulate being in a wheelchair. It didn't emulate being in a wheelchair because I've got control of my core.
Yeah, still managed to utilise those muscle groups that they couldn't.
I've took my leg drive away, but I haven't taken away my stabilisation, and so it's less like, oh, you're not able-bodied and therefore you're impressive because you're in sport, and more so impressive that I feel like I couldn't do that with that select group of muscles that they're using. If I was only using my pecs and my front delts on a bench, would I be benching 107 weighing less than 60 kilos? No, would I would I even be doing the 15 bar? I don't think so. So it's a bit of a challenge for me to try and figure out the best way to express that without having 10 minutes to explain what I mean by it's so impressive. Because it's not impressive in the sense of I'm saying, oh, it's para, therefore it's impressive. It's just an impressive lift. I feel exactly the same. It's I really don't watch the the power or the adaptive part to it of being impressive. It's the strength. They are incredibly strong. Whether they're in a wheelchair or not, it's just insane. But so that was good fun. That was a nice. It was a nice change. And I managed to get a couple of pictures and some videos as well, which I managed to sort of sneak out quickly as well. Which was nice. As a member of the audience on your phone?
Yes, the phone. It wasn't a camera.
No, but where we did take the camera was over to SBD's Classic British Open. There was a very long titled name. Which I purposefully get wrong occasionally because I'm not a media partner. But still, they were impressive as well.
Don't penalise the sport and the athletes. And to be fair, as much as I've never really seen the appeal of powerlifting, I do now. It was it was so impressive.
Yeah.
And again, it's go back to the powerlifting. Just what they were lifting, bench and squat and deadlifting.
Yeah.
It's just out of this world. It really is.
We refed one of the women who was in the power group, was in the powerlifting, Rebecca Coggles. We refed her at London Weightlifting. She entered the weightlifting comp there, and I remember saying to you that I was actually it was quite remarkable, her mobility, considering she was a powerlifter, because she did get into a full snatch position, which for a powerlifter is quite.
You think
it's no mean feat.
Shoulders,
yeah. So it was really, we saw her and we went over and said hello and stuff, and then we actually did see her do her bench and stuff. And she'd done a post after the London competition where a lot of people, because I think her husband's a national coach as far as I can tell, a lot of people had questioned what's the difference between weightlifting and powerlifting, and she'd done this really great quote where she'd said, to me they're the wrong way round. Because weightlifting requires a lot of power, whereas powerlifting requires you lifting a lot of weight. And I think that's really stuck with me for quite a long time, in that, actually when I think about it, they are sort of the wrong way round. But when you see the powerlifters doing the back squat, no thank you, with the low bar.
I couldn't do that.
But it's even just the setup, the stepping back, and then the bend, and then the position that they're in, and their quads. Some of them had massive quads, but some of them didn't. How are they standing that weight back up?
No idea.
And the bench again, 127.5. I saw a woman bench. It's mad.
And that was a light category as well, wasn't she?
It's just. Yeah. The one thing that you'd said about learning was from the SBD group. They had that really cool thing. It was like an anchor arm that meant on the bench they could move the pinpoint of the arm based on where and it was seconds. It was like flawless, wasn't it? I mean, the spotters were in and out. It's like rogues, like army precision. And then for our paras, it was a much more manual process because it was just a bench. So there might, I don't know, now BWL has this partnership with SBD, if that might be something they could consider, because it was incredible how quickly that changed. There's so much learning from the powerlifting that I took, certainly just from a technique standpoint. And I think weightlifters have a certain, you always say about it starts at the chalk bin. You've got a certain lead up to the bar and lifting and your routine. For me, a lot of that goes out the window when I do squats and accessory stuff, and watching them go through their that sort of process of getting to the bar of a bench or a squat or a deadlift. They've got the same thing. They've got a set drill. They're sort of little what you call them, ticks or whatever it is. They go through, and it's like, actually, I need to sort of take note of this. But there's that. But then also things like the spotters. It really makes you appreciate how, for us, when we get the army doing the loading. When you've got speed. Professionals. I say professionals. They're not. The army are. They're drilled down to precision. And the same with the powerlifting. The spotters are amazing. But all the lifters came out and they would speak to one of the spotters, who must be the central spotter, and tell them exactly what they wanted. And they all knew what to do. So 2 spotters would drift off, and they would only have one either side, or 4 would be either side. It was incredible to watch, really was. So a really real good insight into that. So a newfound respect for that sport. Managed to take some photos, and they've been well received, which is quite nice as well, because God knows what I was taking pictures of. I just took pictures of what I thought was great. But you just took pictures of what you what you normally do, which is the emotion. It's not the lifting, is it? It's the emotion. It's never the. I don't think anybody really wants to see a picture of themselves setting up on a bench or setting up for a snatch. Like, I don't. If you were to take a picture when you video me in the gym, it's if you video me in the gym, it's so I can see where the fuck I'm going wrong.
Stuff.
Yeah. If you were to take a picture, it's not necessarily the finished lift, or it's the emotion either of the miss, of the getting ready, of the, like you say, the mindset. So when I take much longer to start my lift than you do, you sort of do a couple of hops and then you're at the bar and everything's done, and I think because I'm still in a phase of going through steps in my brain, I take a lot longer. That there for me would be something that if I saw a photo of would mean something, because I would know what was happening. And the photos for the powerlifting that you took, you either took the celebrations after they'd made white lights. One of them was white lights after red lights, so the joy of making the lift after missing the lift. You'd got one of a confused look because the woman got red lights and wasn't quite sure why. But it's more. It's not really, I say it's not really sports photography because it is, but it's a different side of sports photography, which I think is in line with the podcast. It's a different niche. I'm not here to tell you how best to train weightlifting, or what kind of program you should do, what you should eat, what kind of gym you should be in. Like, there's plenty of other people that can tell you about that.
Yep.
I'm here to really talk about the community and give the community a platform. And I think that's sort of what you do with your photography. It's not about showcasing the sport, it's about showcasing the athletes. And a lot of the time, by showcasing an athlete, that means showcasing them as a person. And that sort of makes me think about what Emily Campbell said on the podcast she went on called Off Menu. It's one of my favourites with Ed Gamble.
Still got to listen to that.
Oh, I mean, Emily's amazing as it is, but on that podcast she's just so funny. And she talks about how fucking ridiculous it is that the TOs get introduced at Europeans and internationals, and obviously we'd all had that chat in Nottingham where we laughed and agreed that that's a joke. And you could be using that time to make the lifters people. Get on the screen. Who is this lifter? Where have they? Emily Campbell started out as, and I think she was a shot putter, or she started out in track and field, that sort of. I say track and field, and that's American term for all that sort of shot put, all that sort. Anyway, and then talk about what clubs she went through. Talk about Atlas. Talk about the fact that she went to Tokyo. Make her a person. She's not just somebody. Because I think this when we came back from the Olympics and we saw Li Wenwen, and I followed her on Instagram, and she had 200 and something followers, and it was a request follow that she accepted, and on her Instagram she's got loads of pictures of her doing her other hobbies, and I'm going to be really disrespectful to the culture because I don't know the name of the hobby, but it's where they essentially dress in a traditional Chinese dress and with one of those umbrellas that's made of like wheat, what you would weave a basket with, and model. Essentially, they go out in their lakes or under big Chinese structures, and they model as traditional Chinese. I'll find it. I'll find it. I'll find what it is that she does, and I'll link it in the caption because I'm not doing it any justice whatsoever. But you would see her on that platform, and you see a gold medal Olympian lifting her coach up, celebrating. It was an amazing moment, but there's so much more to her than that moment. And so there's opportunity, there's like wasted opportunity in spaces like that to fill with who are these people that are on the platform?
Yeah, I sort of feel I'd love to see that gotten rid of. Even just our national comps.
Yeah.
You don't need to introduce the refs. Matt, if you're
Oh, I
listening,
hate
just
it.
ditch it.
I hate
It's a
it.
waste of time. I got when we were marshalling, and the marshal on the for this comp is they don't even
know what a marshal
the
is.
crowd want to know.
The
So,
crowd
yeah.
don't even know what a marshal is.
Do athlete bios or something.
Yeah, I've never seen a TO in a ref chair comfortably raise their hand because none of us want it. And that, to be quite fair, the crowd don't want to be forced to clap for us.
No.
Because half of the time they hate us because at some point they've seen us give one of their lifters a red light, and whether it was deserved or not, they're entitled to their opinion about referees. Yeah, I don't know. Ed does it and the speakers do it because they're told to do it, but fuck that.
Yeah.
Get it on the screen. Get rid of the little stick figure. The stick figures are great, but we don't need to see them 14 times a minute. A stick figure, and then give me a quick 10 seconds of who are all, your athletes. Your athletes in this next group are boom, Tammy Wong. Give me a picture of her and
some bios.
Yeah, a little bit of
stats.
Here's a top lift. Highest medal she's achieved, or what is her home club, who's her coach. Just something that makes them people. Not that I'm saying you aren't people, because you are, but it just there's more that we could be doing than sticking. Sticking whatever it is that we currently stick on there. I think I blanked it out by the end of the weekend. And then ATHX were there.
Yeah, which I still have no idea what it was, but it looked like a bit of a. I think you described it best as being the birth child of CrossFit and High Rocks.
Well, that's what it looked like when I looked through the door.
Like.
When I looked through the door, which was as close as I got when I was talking to Laura, when she was going back in with her. When she was going back in with her microphone, I sort of looked through and thought, yeah, that looks like High Rocks and CrossFit had a baby. I'm going to turn around and buy a brownie from. Is it Joe's Brownie? Jack's Brownies? Yeah. Oh fuck! I have to find out what he's called now, but. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for those as well. Cause they were great.
That was very much needed as well, the sugar.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But no, because they were doing some running the first time I went through to take some photos, and there was barbells, synchro. I think it was a team event or a pairs event, so they were doing.
I have to look it up.
Yeah, burpees, synchro burpees.
I remember the first time we saw them, they were doing burpee long jump. Do you remember? Broad jump. Yeah. Because then I started taking the piss and saying ATHX sounded like a sneeze.
Yes. Bless you.
Yeah. Mainly because I hate burpees, and they were doing burpee broad jumps, and I was like, no, that's it. I don't want to know any more about this. I'm walking away. But actually,
there were.
I think
some very strong and amazing people there.
This is
for sure.
The benefit of doing the things that we've done this year, though. I think doing Rogues and going to CrossFit New Wave and seeing a lot of the sports that we don't take part in have given me more of an appreciation, like you've just said, for powerlifting. Powerlifting, squat, bench, deadlift, well done. But actually, watching it, it's completely different. I've always loved strongman, but seeing it in person, it's completely different. And I've seen it in person, as in bought a ticket and sat in a crowd, but seeing it in person like we did at Rogues, meeting the athletes, seeing the athletes eat the entire menu, gives you a different perspective, much like having seen Rebecca Coggles compete in London weightlifting, speaking to her before she went out, we spoke to her when she came off after the bench. All of a sudden it becomes something a little bit more, because or I say know them as a person. I don't know how to describe it, but it's similar with ATHX. I didn't look at it as much this time as like, that's just a noisy corner.
Yeah.
It was much more like, I couldn't do that, but props to all the people in there that do. Yeah,
a bit more appreciative of everyone's got takes a long time throughout the year to get to that competition, whatever it is, whether it's an English Open, British Open, or whatever it is, championships. So fair play to them.
And the only other thing that was there that I think we took too much photos of. I tried my new 360, the Insta 360 body cam for the rowing, mainly because it was I don't really know how to use a C2. I'll be honest, the rower, I can't row. But what I loved and could have watched all day, and if you got one in a commercial gym, I would learn to fucking row, was that screen where they were racing.
Yeah.
And each machine was linked to the it was like being at the arcade. And I said to you, when you roll the balls to make your donkey go faster, and it's whoever's donkey gets to the end, and you have to quickly roll the ball, and you know, the more you get it in the 4, the further the donkey goes. The rowing machine was linked to the screen, and the faster you rowed, the more your little boat moved. So, I mean, they were facing away from it, which annoyed me, because I would need to be looking at it.
Yeah. I didn't quite understand
the concept of that. No,
Surely
me either. Oh, I need to see it. I need to see it, because if someone
doing the 100 meters backwards.
Yeah, if somebody 3 rowers down from me is this far ahead of me, I'm fucking giving it all I can get. If I don't know where I am, I'm already going to feel like I'm giving it 110. If I can see that there's somebody just pipping me, my body will find the adrenaline to give it 115. But I did like that. I liked that was a cool way of showing a race to the audience, because otherwise the audience are just watching a load of people row. So maybe it was more for the audience than for the athletes, but we hadn't seen that last time because British rowing was really cornered off.
Yeah, it was like they had a big black curtain around it at one point.
Yeah, so, but this time obviously it was much more open, so we could see a lot more of it.
You mentioned New Wave, CrossFit New Wave as well. Fraser.
Yep.
I saw he posted something, and he was actually there. We missed him.
As if we missed him.
Yeah.
I could have given him his Colton t-shirt that's just hanging here, because I still haven't got around to going around to give them their Colton t-shirts.
But I did see him, and which makes sense because he's about 7 foot tall. And
he did list rowing as when I checked their website. Each coach listed their favourite, and I'm pretty sure his was rowing.
Yeah.
It does make sense, yeah. But yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was a good weekend, I think.
It was. There were some regulars that were missing that I missed.
Yeah.
Coaches and TOs.
Yeah. We missed Shemek, of course.
Yeah.
Holly was rightfully concentrating on the competition, so we didn't get to see her TO.
Do you know what? I'm glad she did that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how Holly, I haven't spoken to her, I don't know how Holly feels about that, but I think sometimes we get caught up in what we do is in how much we give back, and Holly gives back a lot.
Yeah.
And so actually when she's got the opportunity to focus on her, I think she should. And if she's on a Sunday, I don't think she should ref, because she should put herself first. She puts everybody else first a lot of the time. So yeah, Holly quite rightfully wasn't on the rotor. Doesn't mean I didn't miss seeing her around, but I understood why she wasn't there. But there were a couple of coaches I didn't see that I would normally see, but I think it's just winter, isn't it? And the English is always a bit quieter than the British. Yeah. But overall, it was a good weekend.
Yes.
Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think what's next. What's next is Europa.
Yes, next weekend. Yeah. We probably won't get this out in time to say get down there and watch it.
I'm going to try, but
okay.
That ain't a promise.
All right, there you go. So if you are doing...
So when you get this after you've competed at Europa, you can say it's just chat bullshit.
Yeah. But yeah, in that case, if you are free on the 20th of December, head down to Europa, which of course is Andy Callard's gaff.
Yeah.
So that would be good.
Yep.
And then it's Christmas, of course. And then post-Christmas, we have that will be the end of this series, of course, but we will kick off the next series with a bit of a review and hopefully some pictures and interviews. We're at February 14th, so it's Valentine's Day.
Oh, the What Active? I forget what he calls it.
Nigel.
Yeah, but what is the competition called? Odyssey Throwdown.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is good. That's again is what Jess was saying about being sort of sort of thrown into a bit of a deep end and trying something different with the powerlifting. We're doing much the same, and a lot of the TOs are doing the same from British Weightlifting as well, volunteering their time to go and to referee, which is going to be an amazing event for adaptive. It's pairs, isn't it?
It's pairs. As far as I understand, it's able-bodied and non-able-bodied partners. I think.
So we will catch up with Abby Wynne-Jones again.
Yep.
One of our favourite people.
I think we're reffing her.
Yes. So
I
show
ain't
us
going
the
light.
money.
Yeah. I ain't being easy on her for that one. I've seen what she can do with that one arm. Like, she shows us all up. No, I'm not being easy on her.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's a case of us. I don't want to say put your money where your mouth is, but lead by example in the sense of it's not just a performative, let's have an adaptive open. No, British weightlifting, it shouldn't be that we expect people to come to us. We need to go to them as well, which I think for me was part of Rogue. We can't keep saying CrossFitters should come to weightlifting and then us not go to CrossFit. Like I'm not going to do a burpee, but I'm not going to not support people that want to do a burpee.
Yeah.
So it's learning. I think is sort of what I'm getting at. Is that over the 2 seasons, I've learnt a lot about sport, but also a lot about weightlifting, and not just how to weightlift or how to better be part of a weightlifting community, but maybe how to be more collaborative with other sports, or see the value in other sports and not feel elitist about weightlifting. I'm always going to think weightlifting is the best, but it doesn't mean that I don't value all the effort that everybody else puts into their sports.
Yeah. I think Matt Curtin, British BWL CEO, obviously says it more than often enough that it is weightlifting, 2 words, and I think that sort of crosses the boundary across all those sort of different sports. Where you do have weightlifting, whether it's dumbbells to barbells, we're seeing, and of course the log press that we did recently, which we'll have to
I've got mine ready to post. I'm proud of that.
But it's an amazing
even,
celebration of it, isn't it?
Yeah, even just in the regular gym that we train in, I am more appreciative now when I see somebody do something with really good form. Really, when you see someone do something with intent, that's what weightlifting has taught me, is to be intentional. So when you were talking about not having a setup for back squats, so I do have a setup for back squats. It's been the same for forever. It's ridiculous, and I see myself do it on video all the time and think, "Oh God, you look like a twat." But it's just what I need to do, and the same goes for when I see somebody in the gym that we train in when they're doing cables, and it's not just I'm grabbing the cables and I'm doing a fly. It's you see them set, you see their muscles tense, you can see them thinking about what they're trying to train, and that's what I've learned through this whole thing, watching hundreds of different coaches coaching hundreds of different ways and reffing hundreds of different athletes, is the intent. It's that self-talk for a start. How do people talk to themselves? How do their coaches talk to them? And then how do they execute whatever exercise it is that they're executing? How a CrossFitter talks themselves through doing 200 burpees and then getting on a ski erg, I don't know, but I fully respect the fact that they do.
Yep.
How a bodybuilder talks themselves through doing that final rep when they've just done 20 reps of an incline bench press, I don't know, because I don't even want to do one, but I can fully respect it. And how the hell the strongmen did that circus press medley when I did that one log press and was like, wait, it doesn't spin. You have to rest it on your tits because it can't go anywhere else. It's no wonder their backs bend.
I was going to say, because my back was like,
because you can't get it on your rack. There is no amount of delt that you can have that will hold a log. But I'd never thought about it. And so how they talk themselves through doing that, how they're coached into doing that, and how they do it is beyond me, but it's not something I think I had this much respect for 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't respect it, but it's just the more I see other people really give themselves to the sport that they love, the more I respect that sport and those athletes. So yeah. Good weekend.
Yep. And that's it. That's a wrap, basically.
That's it, yeah. Season 2 done.
Yeah. Season
3 will start when it starts. We don't have a schedule yet for BWL next year. And I'm hoping we're going to branch off and do a couple of extra bits here and there with other events, similar to Rogue, but not necessarily Rogue, just to get a bit more experience. But yeah, no doubt you'll see us at MEMS, or I was going to say London, but London is MEMS now, so
yes.
You'll see us at MEMS.
Yeah, just a very quick congratulations to Mem and Sil for their new place, which will be opening soon.
Congratulations to Mikey and Mini Mikey / Nino that's Lucy's going to give birth to.
Yeah.
Mikey Nino combo.
So, yeah.
Bless him, starting his little weightlifting family. But yeah, that's a wrap. So yeah, we'll see you all in the new year. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Cheers. Done.
You've been listening to the Bar, strength in every story. Thanks so much for listening. We're so happy to have you as a member of our community. We have a passion for weightlifting, but we also have an insatiable curiosity about everyone's story. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram at _2_thebar. And be sure to hit the website at 2-thebar.com. See you next time on To The Bar. And remember, there's strength in every story.